Happening now, police identify the man found deceased in downtown Jamestown this week. And we're hearing from our kids' new SRO as she looks to connect with area kids to crack down on bullying. Plus, why next year's proposed municipal budget might not go far enough to keep our roads clear from ice and snow.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now. This is WNY News Now with live breaking news.
Police have identified the man found dead in downtown Jamestown this week. Partially decomposed human remains were found by a passerby around noon Monday next to Foss Electric on 1st Street. Following an autopsy, officers identified the man as 51-year-old Clarence Kowalski Jr., who in August reportedly signed himself out of drug treatment in Saratoga Springs and had not been in contact with his family since then. While police did not rule out a drug overdose, investigators say an official autopsy result is pending further medical tests. Detectives are still working to determine when and how he was able to arrive back in town. Thank you for joining us for WNY News Now. I'm Bronson Rasmussen, in for Justin Gould. In an effort to ease anxiety and keep the school safe, Jamestown Public Schools has brought on new school. While the officer officially took the job earlier this school year, the importance of having a police presence on campus rose to the forefront last week when a local mother spoke out about her son's continued bullying at Jamestown High School. Our Alyssa Wright has the story.
It's important to make a note about what an SRO is. An SRO, as opposed to an officer who's assigned to the school, is a specially trained police officer. So they not only have to be a police officer, but they have to be a person who has gone to a specialized training.
The training makes the SRO much more than a regular police officer, according to Jamestown School's superintendent, Dr. Kevin Whitaker.
And the triad model really has three prongs. Of course, a police officer in a school is a police officer, but also it teaches them how to be a teacher and how to be a counselor and how to be someone that can build relationships.
School resource officer Alexis Carlson has offered her services in schools before and tells us she is glad to be back.
Being able to get back into the schools, I can try to be a good resource for these kids, let them know that I'm there.
Officer Carlson is hoping to inspire children just as she was inspired before.
I had some great role models. And I'd like to say that that's probably a good reason that I ended up in law enforcement too. So if that can leave a lasting impression on some kids and lead them into a good career, that's great too.
Carlson understands that some kids may not have had a great experience with the police before.
Of course, I've heard a couple times, this person might not like police or they've had a bad experience. And I make a point to just introduce myself, let them know the reason that I'm there, that they can come and talk to us about anything.
In the end, the officer hopes to lend a helping hand and listening ear for area students.
With communication through all of these different resources, and it's been going great so far, and we just hope to continue that good path.
Alyssa Wright, WNY News Now.
Alyssa, thank you. 7 people were arrested after police in Dunkirk allegedly recovered cocaine, fentanyl, and cash during a drug raid. The search warrant at 759 Deer Street was part of a months-long narcotics investigation by the Dunkirk police, detectives, and agents from the Chautauqua County Regional Drug Task Force. As a result, 7 were arrested. They faced several counts of criminal possession of a controlled substance and criminal possession of drug paraphernalia. After multiple days of learning about green technology, the Jamestown BPU Climate Tech Conference is ending its expo with an electric vehicle showcase open to all for the past 2 days. Manufacturers, investors, and entrepreneurs have been talking about climate tech and why Western New York is the epicenter of this new technology. Ranging from keynote speakers, motivational groups, and major innovations, hundreds from across the country came to Jamestown, New York to learn about climate tech. With today being the last day of the expo, event holders alongside the NFTA are presenting an EV showcase to see consumer and commercial electric vehicles and an electric bus. The showcase starts at 1 o'clock and lasts until 4. The public is urged to attend the free event in front of the National Comedy Center. Road crews in Jamestown are expressing concerns about next year's municipal budget. Specifically, they're concerned with the lack of funding for new equipment purchases like salt trucks and snowplows. This week, department heads are reviewing Jamestown Mayor Eddie Sundquist's proposed 2023 budget, with officials highlighting several issues. Officials spoke to local lawmakers about vehicle and equipment needs within the Public Works and Parks departments, which is currently slated to receive $7.5 million. The fleet manager wants to invest in new trucks instead of ordering expensive, hard-to-find parts for equipment that is at the end of their lifespans. Currently, 3 vehicles have been taken out of service, being deemed not roadworthy by the state. Director of Public Works Jeffrey Lehman was concerned with the cuts in funding alongside the uptick in prices.
We're going to be over budget, I think, this year as far as some of the things we're ordering. Just the basic things, lights, traffic control boxes, that type of thing.
While those with the DPW and Parks departments have ambitious plans, they say the budget, as it is, won't allow them to get the items necessary to make improvements.
We can go on and on and on telling you these kind of stories on what parts are costing. And
we're seeing 30 to 40% increase across the board, and shipping costs have increased as well.
The city clerk, finance assessor's office, and corporation council will also be reviewing the budget to the city council next Monday before the council's voting session. Our local animal shelter is again overloaded with kittens, and thus holding another pop-up adoption this weekend. Last month at this time, the cat colony at Chautauqua County Humane Society reached capacity. To help make adoption more available and find cats their forever home, the nonprofit is once again lowering adoption fees to $50 for 1 kitten and $75 for 2. As we told you last week, a group of black cats are up for adoption as well for free, thanks in part to a special donation. On Saturday from noon until 3, volunteers will be at the Chautauqua Mall in Lakewood showcasing the furry friends, which are up for adoption. And I'm pretty sure I just heard either a big truck or a snowplow go by. That does not bode well, Dakota.
Yeah, no, I don't think... Well, the snow so far has not really been enough to stick, but yeah, you see behind me the Salamanca sky cam. It's snowing, folks. Sleigh bells ring. Are you listening? I mean, it is just like a winter wonderland out there. That's the Salamanca sky cam. Let's show it to you on the radar. Now, basically, if you're near the Lake Erie shoreline across the lower elevations, this is still mainly lake effect rain showers, but where that colder air is inland away from the lake, we're changing over to pockets of snow, and this is going to continue through the afternoon hours, and the flakes are big too. Have you seen them? They're really big snowflakes out there. 39 was the high temperature yesterday. We started the day at 32. I don't think we're going to budge past that 39 today either. 81 and 19 are the records. So through the afternoon, just overcast skies, occasional lake effect rain and snow showers, mainly all snow across the hills. Once again today, very cold with a brisk wind, 36 on the hills to 45 at the lower elevations, with that southwest wind gusting to near 30 miles an hour at times. Now we've still got some more of this on the way over the next couple of days, then a big warm up likely. We'll talk about it with the Ultimate Satellite Solutions 7-day forecast later on in the show. Bronson.
As WNY News Now continues, we hear from our state senator who is taking your concerns as part of Town Hall series, and later, the latest efforts in New York to crack down on domestic violence. Stay with us as WNY News Now will be right back.
With coverage that matters. This is WNY News Now.
I'm a survivor.
I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor.
Testicular cancer is the leading form of cancer in men aged 15 to 35.
1 in 250 men will be diagnosed with testicular cancer.
But 98% will survive if detected early.
As a survivor, I believe early detection is the key. Learn how to do a testicular self-exam and other important facts about testicular cancer at oneball4tc.com.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer, plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
Looking for a fair and honest auto mechanic? Look no further than Dwyas Auto Service. Located at 140 Main Street in Randolph, our family-owned business is ready for all of your automotive needs. From general service to more complex repairs, count on Dwyas Auto to keep you on the road. We not only keep your cars running smoothly, but also looking great with our expert detailing crew. Send us a message on Facebook or call us today at 716-358-2292 to set up an appointment. Dwyas Auto Service. Fair, honest, and the best prices guaranteed.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
Last night, New York State Senator George Borrello held a town hall meeting in Little Valley, just weeks away from Election Day. Our Julia Gress reports.
There are 7 million able-bodied men between the ages of 18 and 54 that are not working, are not looking for it. Now think about that. That's 7 million able-bodied men that aren't working. So the problem is not that our employers aren't paying enough. The problem is government pays too much not to work.
State Senator George Borrello also expressed concerns about new state legislation, which on January 1st, 2024, bans newly built buildings from using natural gas as a heat source. One community member asked the senator about a bill he co-sponsors, which would split the Empire State into 3 autonomous regions.
Imagine having all of upstate New York as a zone with lower taxes, less regulations, the ability to control our own destiny when it comes to things like agriculture and everything else that makes us the breadbasket of the state. I think you get a lot of people that will want to move up here to live in a freer society.
Another community member questioned the safety of putting wind turbines in Lake Erie.
All that stuff is still there. All that stuff from our industrial past that went into Lake Erie, between the industrial age and tanneries and all the other things. All that stuff is still there, buried not that far below the surface of the lake.
If the lake is dug into to place wind turbines, Borrello is concerned that the lake will become contaminated, which could have devastating effects given that the lake is the drinking water source for almost all of western New York. The state's new gun laws were also questioned at the meeting.
When your goal is just to tell your base that we're doing something about guns, we're not actually doing anything about violence. So that's the real problem, right? We're going to go after law-abiding gun owners and try to restrict their rights.
Borrello suggests addressing the small percentage of the population actually committing crimes, in part by supporting and strengthening Kendra's Law. Julia Gress, WNY News Now.
New York State released a report detailing the role of online platforms in the racially motivated Buffalo mass shooting at a Tops grocery store that killed 10 black people and wounded 3 others. The report concludes that fringe online platforms like 4chan radicalized the shooter, while live streaming platformers like Twitch were weaponized to publicize and encourage copycat attacks. As a result, Governor Kathy Hochul and State Attorney General Letitia James are pushing for federal and state reforms. They are also calling for new state legislation that would criminalize resharing or reposting images of mass shootings created by the shooter. Governor Kathy Hochul has signed into legislation to protect victims of domestic violence from armed abusive partners. Courts are now required to order the seizure of guns owned by abusive partners if they do not surrender them first. Part of a 5-bill package, the new laws will also enhance confidentiality and financial protections for victims. The governor says that since the pandemic, 1 out of 3 women and as many as 1 out of 4 men have experienced some form of intimate violence or emotional trauma from a partner. The state's Assembly Committee on Children and Families met yesterday to discuss the state of primary prevention services in New York. They heard oral testimonies from agencies and advocates. Our New York State Capitol correspondent Elise Klein spoke to advocates about what state leaders can be doing to address the welfare of children and families.
At a committee hearing earlier today, advocates and agencies emphasized the power primary prevention services have on child welfare. Primary prevention services are defined as preventing child abuse and maltreatment before it starts by implementing programs. But many of these programs are underfunded, according to testimonies today.
Child welfare has been underinvested for decades.
In 2018, the Family First Prevention Services Act was passed in the federal budget, and throughout the state fiscal years, millions of dollars have been allocated to New York State. But agencies like New York State Office of Children and Families said the legislation did not go far enough. Other advocates added that there are other elements to address in addition to funding, including disparities in access to resources between varying communities. Assemblyman Andrew Hevesy responded to these testimonies, saying that it is at this point essentially up to New York State to focus primary prevention efforts and drive as much money as possible into agency programs. And despite the challenges to overcome, advocates said they are grateful for state leaders' willingness to listen to their concerns.
This hearing is major for child welfare, just to shine a light on this system and the families that often interact with it and how much support is sorely needed.
In Albany, Elise Klein, WNY News Now.
Legislation and that would give local officials and landowners more control over waterway improvements has been approved by the Senate Environmental Resources and Energy Committee. The bills address things like easing permanent requirements for creek and stream maintenance, and even create a new program that provides emergency maintenance permits.
So we've been working at this for over a year. I know it seems like a long time, but nothing happens very quickly here in Harrisburg, but we're not giving up, and we're going to keep pushing. If it doesn't happen this session, we'll reintroduce them again next session.
The legislation that was a result of stakeholders like farmers and town officials who expressed concern and frustration with how things were being done. Coming up, we're breaking down a plan to help bring down gas prices. And later, with the new fallen snow, comes fire concerns. To look at how to heat your home safer this winter. But first, we return with a look at our full weather forecast when WNY News Now returns.
When severe weather breaks, one team has you covered, tracking the storms as they happen. Catch your First Defense forecast daily. Now.
Slow down and move over.
Move over.
When you see signs,
Lights,
Vests.
please give us some room.
slow down.
Slow down and move over.
When you need help,
It's our job
to help you.
to save you.
Despite the danger,
This danger is real.
do your part.
Please
Slow down.
Slow down.
And move over.
move over.
Walking from Jamestown to Orchard Park is a long trek, but when rallying for a good cause, anything is possible. I'm Patrick Smeraldo, and I need your help to get there. Starting on November 11th, I'm walking over 60 miles to the Buffalo Bills Stadium, raising money for two great causes: Harrison's Playmakers and foster care in Chautauqua County. Harrison's Playmakers is a non-profit launched by former Buffalo Bills defensive tackle Harrison Phillips to connect kids with disabilities in sports. Furthermore, donations for this 3-day hike will also benefit CASA of Chautauqua County and the Stone family, who are assisting local foster care children during National Adoption Month. learn more about my journey and to donate at ccsolutions716.com.
With coverage that matters, this is WNY News Now.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. A little unexpected there. But hey, this was a video I shot as I was coming in this morning of the snow falling here in downtown Jamestown from our studios here. And man, those are those big lake effect flakes that were falling this morning. And we still have some of that falling across the region right now. So if you have any pictures or videos of the weather, Hunters WX on Twitter, the First Defense weather page on Facebook, and use that hashtag MyLocalWX. And you know, this is the same graphic we showed yesterday, but wanted to bring it back because it talks about precipitation types, kind of what causes what to fall. So obviously all precipitation starts as snow up in the cloud. That's where the coldest air lives, is up on the highest, is pretty much up at the top of clouds. So that warm air down low, it's obviously going to fall as rain. If the warm air is kind of wedged in between the middle, we'll likely have either freezing rain, where the rain comes down and freezes on contact because the ground is still relatively cold down at the surface below freezing. And if we have that warm air also kind of wedged in the middle, we can also get sleet, which is rain and snow together. And then when we have all cold air from top to bottom, we get snow. So that's kind of what we were dealing with today. And you know, the temperatures over the past 7 days have really been kind of interesting. Look at this. Just 1 week ago, we were at 65 last Wednesday, 59 on Thursday, and look at where we were yesterday, 39. So this is a stark difference to where we were, but I think we're going to see some temperatures like that returning as we go into next week. Stay tuned. We've got a pair of threes as of noon hour right now. A light snow shower at the airport as of noon hour. Southwest wind of 10, so at least it's not too breezy, but even that creates that wind chill index of 25. So it's a lot colder than it feels out there when you get that wind. Now, as we mentioned, there is a warm up coming. This is the current 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. And take a look at this. That they are favoring above average temperatures likely by the weekend and into early next week. You'll see it in the 7 day here in just a second. First Defense Doppler radar. This is where we still have some of that snow coming down across Cattaraugus County, of course, at the top of the show. If you saw the Salamanca camera, you saw that snow coming on down. This is mainly where that colder air is now, but we still are going to deal with a few light rain and snow showers, mainly coming from the lake. And there's the reason why. That low pressure area is spinning right across the upper Great Lakes, which is feeding in that colder air, moving right across the upper Great Lakes. Notice all the connected moisture from our source region from the upper Great Lakes. So here is the newest runner future scan. We'll still deal with some scattered lake effect rain and snow showers at times, mainly all snow where the colder lives, where we likely will stay in the upper 30s all day. And again, just the same thing for tonight. Scattered lake effect rain and snow showers. Some may pick up another inch. The best chance for that inch is going to be on the highest hilltops by tomorrow. Tomorrow will start to turn a little bit better, although we'll still deal with a few lake effect rain and snow showers, and then by the time we head into Friday, it'll all start to clear out. So additional snowfall totals here, yeah, we could be looking at about a half an inch to maybe upwards of an inch. The better chance for that inch is going to be on the highest hills of the southern tier. So 30 to 39 tonight, another cold night, an additional half inch to 1 inch of additional wet snowfall accumulation is possible. Now, the next 7 days of your life, powered by Ultimate Satellite Solutions, and hey, we have a new look for the 7 day. How do you like this? It's really fresh. So the big number here is the high temperature. The smaller number is the low temperature. And you can see here, we're going to pretty much start that warm-up trend, Bronson, by the weekend. How about near 70 on Sunday? And we'll keep the warm air going into early next week.
Wow, look at all the things that you can do when Justin isn't here.
That's right.
All right, we'll get you some headlines from around the nation. And shelves are now fuller than they used to be. But many families with new babies in the U.S. are still having trouble finding baby formula. According to a market research firm, just 18% of powdered formula was out of stock the first week of October, compared to about 30% in July. But that is still higher than before the nationwide recall of baby formula and the subsequent shutdown of a major manufacturing plant in February. Amazon workers in upstate New York voted against forming a union. The result deals another blow to a grassroots labor group trying to organize several of the online retail giants' warehouses in the U.S. According to a preliminary tally, 406 workers at the Amazon factory near Albany voted against unionizing, and 206 people had voted for it. Workers at the facility were seeking to organize with the Amazon labor union. Regular gas costs more than $5 or $6 a gallon in some parts of the country. That's according to AAA today. The president is set to unveil a plan to help bring down those prices, as Amy Kiley reports.
You're going to hear from him talking about gas prices.
President Joe Biden is expected to announce 3 steps on that topic today. The first is the sale of 15 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to be delivered in December. The White House says that would meet his promise to release a total of 180 million barrels over 6 months.
The president took historic efforts in the past several months to make sure that we brought gas prices down.
Biden's also expected to talk about shoring up reserves for the future. That involves a plan to buy oil for the SPR when prices go down. He's also poised to call on oil and gas companies to pass on sky-high profits to consumers. So far, they haven't shown signs of wanting to do that.
It's difficult, for people to deal with groceries where the price is increasing, where the price of gas is increasing.
The White House is trying to highlight Biden's actions ahead of the midterms. Gas prices dropped about 3 cents a gallon over the last week, but AAA attributes it to low demand as a possible recession looms. The broader trend is that gas prices are likely to keep rising. OPEC Plus is set to cut oil production starting next month.
Ultimately, what we have to do in the short term is supply has to meet demand so that prices continue to come down.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Next, with colder temps, the number of house fires could be on the rise. We hear from fire experts in our region about to heat your home safely.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
Walking from Jamestown to Orchard Park is a long trek, but when rallying for a good cause, anything is possible. Starting on November 11th, I'm walking over 60 miles to the Buffalo Bills Stadium, raising money for 2 great causes: Harrison's Playmakers and foster care in Chautauqua County. Learn more about my journey and to donate at ccsolutions716.com.
WNY News Now is covering stories that matter to you.
Police and other local law enforcement agencies are looking for the person responsible for a shooting.
One of the benefits of this new feature is it not only works with the newer parking meters that the city's been rolling out, but these traditional meters as well.
From muddy trails to slick cliff edges to structures that have fallen into disrepair, these are just some of the problems that this park faces.
WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
As the cold weather is here and the holidays are approaching, the risk of house fires is rising. Erie News Now's Tom Kowalski has more on where fires are likely to occur and what you can do to prevent them.
As you start to prepare for the winter season, one of the first things you might set up is your space heater. But before you turn it on, experts say to follow these safety tips.
You want to make sure they're being plugged directly into an outlet. You don't want to put them into extension cord, any adapters, or any power strips. You want to ensure that they're dust free, there's nothing in front of them, and they're ultimately not going to be near anything that can catch fire. And you don't want to leave them unattended either.
And firefighters agree. You should always use products like this with caution.
It's very important to read all the manufacturer's instructions if you're using any type of space heater or any other type of product to heat yourself or heat your house.
And as Christmas approaches, it's important if you have a real tree to keep it hydrated to avoid a fire.
My father-in-law always taught me when we had our Christmas tree to take a drill and go right up the trunk of the tree and then fill it with some different cotton so it'd be like a wick, and then make sure it's watered properly so that the pine needles aren't falling down. And so that was always very helpful to us as well. You don't have a mess in your house and the tree stays healthy.
And make sure you put out your candles properly too.
People like to use candles this time of year. You want to make sure they're attended properly. You make sure they're washed, and make sure when you do put them out that you put them out properly. Sometimes if you just try to use your hand or wave something. It can actually break off some of the wick and it can fall down behind something and cause a fire. So any candles, you should always have them in a room that you are in. They should never be unattended, and make sure they are extinguished properly before you move on or go to bed for the night.
Tom Kowalski, WNY News Now.
Well, that's it for us today. Remember that news continues 24/7 at WNYNewsNow.com and on our mobile app. Download it for free today. And look at that, right outside our studio. No snow, so take that, Dakota. We'll catch you next time.